Welcome back to another episode of the RAG Report podcast, where I bring you a daily episode from speaking to recruitment owners, leaders, suppliers, advisors around the world who are giving their take, experiences, and advice on how we can all tackle COVID-19 and come out of this in the best possible shape. Today, I'm delighted to be joined by Doeke Geerstma. Doeke is the co-founder of an on-site blended recruitment agency called WeAreKeen, a couple of years old, based in Holland. Someone I spoke to in the past. I think he's very forward-thinking, looks brand conscious, doing loads of stuff in marketing, and with a different type of model in terms of a recurring revenue. I'm really interested to know how he's coping with that and what's going on in Holland. So let's get cracking. Doeke, thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Sean. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for the invite. Looking forward to our chat, right? And hopefully we can help each other out in these different times.
It's
I would say,
all
right?
about sticking together right now, mate.
Yeah,
so look,
yeah.
I've started every single call right now with the first question: what the hell is going on in your life right now? Paint the picture for the listeners. What's Doeke's life like?
Well, it's changed quite significantly, I would say. I think the bomb dropped on coincidentally on the 13th of the Friday the 13th of March, when we basically that was the first time the government said we're going into a lockdown. That's when basically things will become very evident for everybody that we're going to go into a really different phase, right? From a health perspective and economy perspective. And obviously from that day onwards, I think I've never spent so much time in calls, in hangouts, talking to, of course, my staff, right? Making sure that they're right, that they're healthy, to make sure that we got everything in place to support them, obviously. And of course, talking to my clients, right? So what's going on? Where are you? How are you dealing with the situation? How can we act to support you guys, right? And then, of course, making the translation to our business. How is this going to impact us? Making a risk assessment. Are we in control? Where are we quite certain that things will be okay? Where are we might be a little bit uncertain that we'll be okay, right? And from there on, see how we can address this, right? And I was always sort of I'll think in quarters, I'll think in years, I'll think in budget plans, but that sort of just went all out of the window, like immediately.
Daily check.
On a daily check. And then hopefully we can get through this phase without too much harm, right? So I think that's what everybody's trying to do. Hopefully this won't last too long, because then I think we're talking about a really different situation in that sense. But just trying to make sure that we can support everybody that's really close to us, and then of course our clients as well, right? Yeah.
So let's go backwards then. When did you guys in Holland? Oh no, sorry. Reframe the question. How was the coronavirus sort of media portrayed in Holland before like this March the 13th? Was it something that you guys were really consciously looking at? Was it on the radar? Were you oblivious to it? What was going on?
Yeah, good question. I'm inclined to say that similar to a lot of countries and a lot of people, it just seemed to be a bit distant, right? Oh, this is something big or a bit awkward. It looks very scary, but I'm doing my thing. I'm talking to my people, to my clients. I'm quite sure this will work out one way or another, right? And I'm not too sure. Like, could you? I mean, have you talked to anybody at all who I've told you guys that this was going to happen, except for Bill Gates, right? But anybody else, who could expect this? So I think we all did should be okay. And then I think it really sort of went really bad. Still is the case, I guess, right in Italy. One of my closest friends lives in Spain, right? They're already a bit ahead of us as well. He said there's the armies on the streets. I'm not allowed to go outside, right? I have to pay a fine. I was like, whoa, that's different, right? And then it sort of gradually came here as well. Fortunately enough, I haven't been hit in my close circle, from a health perspective. The family is safe, right? So it's a massive impact, right? So I think hugely underestimated from a lot of perspectives, right? And perhaps even still, right?
I think so. What's the lockdown rules in Holland? What are you allowed to do or not to do?
I think we're a little bit more flexible or tolerant than down south, but basically the first measurements that were undertaken by the government were the bars, cafes, hotels, sports facilities, complete lockdown. So that already had a massive impact, of course, on day-to-day life for a lot of people. And then a few days later came the schools. And then a lot of sort of shops, like mainly the big chains, to start to close their like retail, etc., shut down as well. So currently so basically the advice for everybody in the Netherlands is work from home if you can, right? Basically with two sort of main ideas in mind. We want to protect our most vulnerable elderly people, or people who might have like chronic diseases, whatever. And obviously we want to, the new phrase, flatten the curve, to make sure that the people who are in the healthcare systems are able to deal with this in a proper way. So everything here in the Netherlands is geared towards that, which I guess is quite similar on a global scale. So I'm allowed to go outside. I live outside of I live in the countryside. So for here, my kids can play outside, which are quite lucky with, right? But you're basically, everybody's like stay at home, right? So that's the idea. I think it took us about a week here to get adapted to that, because the first week everybody went to the beach, they went doing sports, they went to the parks, they went to hang out everywhere.
Good weather as well. We had good weather, right?
Exactly. So everybody wanted to get outside, but then like, a few press conferences later by the government, people I think really got the message now. So I would say like close to 100% of the people in the Netherlands are really sticking to those things as well, right?
Yeah, I'd say we're pretty similar. I've literally just been out for a walk now before this, and it still feels quite busy. Like there's still not.
Yeah.
I don't get the restaurants that are open for takeaway. I just don't get that concept. Like, surely you're cooking. You don't know who's in the kitchen. Someone's then got to pick it up and drive it. There's quite a lot of movement there. Like that. I don't know. That seems a bit odd, but on the whole. I think it's incredible how fast people are adapting to this way of life, though.
Crazy fast. Yeah, it's the same here. I mean, I was just on the phone with someone else as well, and I pushed an ID, and then they sort of confronted me. Yeah, but Doeke, like a month ago, you thought this ID was terrible, right? What happened? So well, I sort of flicked my mind a little bit into the new situation, right? So things become fluid under pressure, I suppose, right? And I think work-wise, corporation-wise, collaboration-wise, I think for the benefit, I would say,
So tell us about your business. Like for the listeners who don't know WeAreKeen, give us an overview as to what you guys do.
Yeah. Well, basically, in a nutshell, we try to help scale talent acquisition teams, right, with extra people on site. So what we do, we hire early career recruiters, and we've designed quite a specific learning program to make sure that learning curve is extremely steep in the first 12 months. And those people work on site, embedded, whatever you want to call it, with our clients, who are either, let's say, in a digital transformation. So let's say they're more traditional companies, the big banks, institutions, insurance companies, and so on, right? Who are all struggling to find the right, tech talent, digital talent, right? And on the other hand, we are supporting a lot of more, tech companies, scale-ups, who might have picked up a bit of funding, who are growing through acquisitions or whatever, right? And to make sure that they are able to attract the right people, we support them with flexible staff on site, basically.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a monthly retainer as opposed to a performance fee?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, in the Netherlands, it's quite normal to do it on an hourly base, but of course that eventually goes into a daily, weekly, monthly way. And usually it's sort of a combination. Specifically, I would say like the scale up technology companies, like they're growing so fast, they don't always have really clearly in mind where will I be in 6 months' time, right? So I could go for a perm, or I could go for a little bit of flexibility. I'm looking for highly specialized recruiters in that sense. So I'll go to WeAreKeen, bring someone on site, and then support us out for 6 months. And then after 6 months, we'll see, hey, what's going on? Do I need more support? Do I need more Keenies, as we tend to call them? And could I deploy someone now for Amsterdam or for Berlin office or for Tel Aviv, right? So that's how we try to support them.
And how have you seen the reaction across your client base? Because I imagine, depending on their sector and things, that their hiring plans must have been disrupted by now.
Yeah. I would be lying to say we have not been affected. I mean, in this model, right? I think any company owner, manager, anybody in a leadership position would say, okay, where can I cut costs? Let's freeze the hiring, right? Because we don't know what's going to happen in certain uncertain times. You're always affected there. I would have to say that so far we've been quite lucky. So we had a few of our clients say, well, the hiring is a bit slow, or we'll freeze it. Some of them been really actually quite innovative in the sense like, hey, I'm going to readdress my team from hiring into other fields, right? But then they would say, hey, sorry, that's you're a flexible recruiter. We don't need this person here and now, right? But I've also have some clients who are saying like, for us, well, it's not business as usual, obviously, but we will remain in place. And we want to be a good employer, and we're not going to go from A to Z overnight, right? So in that sense, we had quite a diverse portfolio of clients, I would say. So far, so good. But like we said before, this is like a day-to-day basis, right? So I feel I'm in control today. But if you call me Monday, Sean, it could be very, very different. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know what? One thing I would advise you not to do is to look at your previous forecasting budgets.
Oh, please.
I did that by
Please,
accident the other day. I stumbled upon a document that was about 6 weeks old, maybe 4 or 5 weeks old.
When the sky was still the limit, Sean.
Oh, I wanted to cry when I read it.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Yeah.
But look, I think we're in a similar boat where, we've got a lot of customers. Initial reaction was, what the hell's going on? I feel like a lot of those customers have gone through a kind of a defensive period where they've worked out how they're going to cope. And then they're now on the offense and looking at their strategies and how we can help them. What I would say, I mean, if you're going to be working with those high growth tech companies, and most of them would be funded. So I imagine if they've got funding, in a way, this could be a really good time for them to gobble up talent and build real like aggressive development of a tech product or whatever, so that when the curve comes, because talent's going to be everywhere. And if they've got the money in the bank, it's like, well, nothing stops us.
It's true. I think like there's no such thing as it is a tech company, therefore they all apply this strategy. It's like it's so completely different in which vertical, which sector active, right? Some like really cool, hot happening at tech companies in the travel space, disaster, right? Like yes, they think they're going to get through this, but like if you go from, let's say, your revenue just drops like 60-70% overnight, right? You need to take measurements, right? Otherwise you would not be I think you would not be I think it's a lot about trust as well, right? So if you're just saying like, oh, business as usual, and you would approach it in this way towards your employees as well, I think it's really tricky. But actually, I have some clients as well in that sort of skill up technology space who do think, hey, this is an opportunity for me to attract some other staff, right? So that definitely happens as well. But I don't think there's such a thing as one recipe that applies to all these tech companies. So dependent on where they're active. I know I had a client like who was providing like a SaaS company, like a software for the hotel business, right? And for restaurants. Like, what are you gonna do, right? Like zero revenue overnight. So you can't do anything else, right? You need to make sure that that you're on top of your cash flow, right? To make sure that you can pay your fixed costs, etc. And
you almost would rather be with the businesses that are pre-revenue and they're building out the product before it's even live. So you can kind of work with the guys that haven't got any clients yet. They've just got money in the bank and they're growing through that period.
That would be the best. But have some like I said before, like we have quite a diverse portfolio. Well, you could say good thinking, Doeke, good strategy. I'm not too sure. It happened as well, right? But now so far we've been that has helped us, right? Because some of these clients have really said like, no worries, we're going to get through this. We're just going to remain, have everybody in place. So that is, of course, for us extremely important in this phase. Like I don't have a big business yet, but we want to get through this to make sure that we're able to get out of this stronger, just like anybody else, I suppose. But for now, that is really helping us, right? And it's and some like. We were discussing it internally as well. Like, what have we been doing the last 2 years? Like, we're in a really good economy, right? And I would say, like, I think we've done some stuff good. I think we could have done a ton of stuff way better, right? But we've really adapted sort of this model that we stick really close to our clients. And what I did get back a few of our clients, hey guys, we want to support you guys as well, right? So we'll think with you, right? So we like this connection. we won't do anything overnight which could harm you in an extreme sense. And so they really got into, they realized that they were an important partner of us, right? And if they would say everybody out, that we would be in a different position. So that was really, well, it's almost like a sort of somebody else used the term before of a goodwill equity, right? I think it was Hung Lee, I think it was. Yeah. But he said like goodwill equity. I was like, yeah, it's not tangible, right? But I think it has really helped us. Yeah.
I think it's important to respect your suppliers though, because at the end of the day, we're gonna come through this. The brands that survive are gonna come through this, and then you're gonna need suppliers again. And ideally, you're gonna need the ones you had because you already had relationships. So by treating people like shit now, it could really bite you in the future. So I've said to all my clients, like, pick up the phone, let's have a conversation. We'll help you in any way we can within reason, and let's get through this together. And on the whole, it's been really good. And I think that's really, like you say, really exciting. Feels good. The only thing I personally am concerned about, which you said it yourself, is how long this lasts. If we can get what's your, based on what you've been reading, been discussing, what's your honest? I mean, I'm not going to hold you to the answer, but what's your honest view on where we are heading and what will happen?
I'm afraid to say, man. No, I got like, I'm an info junkie, so I love reading stuff, right? So I was reading this thing about McKinsey's bringing out some amazing content, but it gets a bit scary, right? But the only good thing about it is that I tend to see Europe as one economic zone, and then I guess from the Netherlands or the UK perspective, we're usually sort of on the higher end, right? But I would be really surprised if we would be back on the growth curve in this year, right? But hopefully things will return a little bit to normal, right? So I mean that we might not be entering like a high growth all of a sudden, like they've done in China, like a hardcore stop, and then it seems to be picking up quite quickly already there. I think that's something that would definitely not apply for a lot of our Southern European friends, right? Italy, Spain. They just perhaps got over the last economic downturn in the last 2-3 years, really high growth, but their buffers were minimal, right? So that's really tough on them, right? So I feel we should really support them, but that's a whole different discussion, I suppose. But I just hope this won't last a lot longer than 6 months, right? Like for everybody, right? So also for us, obviously.
Yeah, I think I spoke to the guy from Morgan McKinley, Rob Sheffield, who talked about the Chinese bounce back. He's based in Hong Kong, and he's looking at the Chinese region. And one of the reasons he said it's happened so well is because China's a bit like the US. They have their own economy, so they don't really have to rely on import, like trade, import and export. They can. It's more the local businesses in China have just gone boom back to normal. I think some of the big American corporates or whatever are still struggling. But I've got this viewpoint that it really depends on the testing capability, because if you think about with the same strategy in the UK as Holland is, flatten the curve, keep everyone distance, help the health service, makes sense. But that isn't what's going to get us back, because at the end of the day, that's just a suppression strategy. It's not a cure. What I think will get us back to some form of normality is the testing, because they're talking about in the UK having an app on you where you will have like an NHS National Health Service app, which will say, I have had corona, I have immunity now, or I have antibody. So people will have to be able to prove that they've not got corona to be able to do things. So it'll be, and it kind of becomes a bit more common sense. I've got it. I'm at home. If I'm not, I'm out. And it will never be an exact science. It'll never be perfect. But I can see that building in slowly, allowing us to live somewhat, and then people can start hiring again, and people can start buying again. And I don't think it'll get anywhere near normal I don't think personally for a year at least. I tend to agree. And the tricky thing about this, because this discussion leads a little bit towards Big Brother as well, right? So where will the government fly in, right? And where will they take over privacy in order to protect everybody else? It's a really interesting discussion, right?
If you look at the historical perspective, I think if governments have moved in to take over control, that usually goes overnight. But then to let go again takes them, quite a bit more time. So I think that's a really interesting discussion. Hopefully not impacting us too much, but I think we're on this. And I do believe, so there's an amazing piece by Josh Bershin, the Big Reset, I think it was called, an article.
Right.
Yeah, I do think this is a pivotal moment in time in that sense, right? I think there will be some major shifts in certain areas which will affect all of us in the long run as well. That if we would have this talk again in 40 years, then we could look back. That moment, things changed, and we're still affected by those things currently, right? Definitely.
I think so. I agree. Yeah. How do you think recruitment agencies will adapt? What do you think the changes will make to your, whether it's a traditional contingent agency or one more like yourself? How do you think businesses will change in terms of the way they operate, or the products or services or charges or whatever, in light of the new world?
Yeah. Well, good and interesting question. Hard question as well. I feel. I do think that people are, like, if I look, perhaps I should phrase it from my own perspective, right? So what I've been intrigued with in the course of the last week, basically, right? We were, in that sense, we're trying to push a nice brand. We have a model where we train people, we put them on site. It's rather specific sort of vertical, so we're like a super niche, right? So there were not too many competitors around, right? So we could sort of claim that area a little bit in that sense. But last week I thought, like, we want to support this community, right? And how can we do that? Because we can't provide it with any jobs, right? The demand is really, really slow. And the support is massive, right? So we want to move towards a webinar where we could support our community, right? So what can we bring value? So we were really thinking, we were stuck in our thinking on a national level, right? So how can we support the people in the Netherlands who we're currently supporting? So we opened up this webinar, and then we were getting subscriptions in, attendees, right? So 10, 50, 100, 200 people. And I was like, wow, that's amazing, right? So we're able to support the community. But then I was looking at sort of the countries where they were from. So I literally had people from like 15 different countries, right? So all of a sudden, this idea of bringing value to the community became from like a really tiny, like, the Netherlands is small, right? Like in London, there's as many people as we have in the Netherlands, right? So, but then all of a sudden, this just like opened up, that we had people from Australia, South Africa, the States, Canada, Israel, Poland, Bulgaria, you name it, right? So I was really intrigued by this, like, this remote hiring that we're all talking about, right? Could we think of something that we could actually sort of, I don't know, open up our business model, or pivot our business model in a sense that we could basically address a lot more people, right? So moving from the Netherlands as a marketplace into the globe, right? But like, I haven't figured out a business model yet to really grab this, but I was intrigued by how quickly this actually went, right? That people were interested. Hey, this is stuff online. It's looks webinar keen, interesting topic. Let's tap in, right? So I was really, really surprised at how quickly this basically shifted as well.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, you're away again, Sean.
Yeah, you broke up on me. You paused on me. Hang on. Can you
hear me still now? There? Yeah.
Yeah, I heard everything. It just paused your screen towards the end. I think I've been in this room for 2 weeks and it's never got a glitch, so I don't know what's going on. But it is it says my internet is unstable, which is annoying.
Okay, yeah, good. I might have had a bit of background noise because the kids were playing outside.
I think as long as it's recording what I can hear, you sounded perfect throughout.
Oh, okay, cool.
All right, so JJ, if you're listening, we're back in. I agree, because I think there's a big shift now to, what do recruitment agencies look like afterwards, or even during this period?
Yeah.
Do we need to have an office the same as we did? Do we need it to be in the same city it was? Do we need talent that's, within a couple of mile radius of where we work? Everyone's going to start to think, well, maybe my market share here becomes a bit harder, but my global reach now means I've got more options. Yeah. Like, when it comes to my business, we chose about 18 months ago that we would start to hire a couple of 100% remote people.
Oh, wow, cool. In the UK or outside the UK?
Well, most of no, that's a lie.
Now the question is, what do you call remote? Eh?
Yeah, well, we got a guy. For example, our head of paid social he's Portuguese, but he lives in London. He lives in Kingston, which is near London, but he comes in once a week if we need him.
Yeah.
But then we had 2 content writers that were they're from the UK, but they were traveling the world. So they've never been to the office, never met them, never met them in person ever, which is crazy, right?
Yeah.
But it instantly meant that our office space didn't need to double as our headcount did.
Yeah.
So our offices are quite a good price. And now I'm like, do I even need to have that size office? Could I downsize it even more? Just have somewhere just have a little hub for people to congregate if they need to create content. But all these ideas are running through our heads, right? And I mean, I was on a LinkedIn Live today with some people across the recruitment industry talking about their ideas, and I think the general consensus was, you name a pain point in your business that you think you have to do personally, like physically at the moment. Someone will come up with a way of doing it virtually. We're going to be in this choice era, I think, where you can say, I don't know if you can work in the office, you can work at home, it doesn't matter. And the businesses that adopt that, I think, will grow faster. The ones that try and go back to where it was before, might struggle.
No, I think what you're saying could actually stick, because I'm not too sure if it like overnight everything will change 180 degrees all of a sudden, right? But it's more like this hybrid model, right? That you become flexible. You basically you can tap into a global workforce all of a sudden. You can say, oh my god, there's this guy who lives next door and he's quite nice and I like him, I could have a beer with him at the bar, right? But this girl from Mexico, she's like the most amazing content writer I've ever seen in my life, right? So why would I hire this nice guy to sit next to me if I could work with someone who's even better, right? But I do believe that in sort of a hybrid model, right? Because if I look at all the fun and all the cool stuff we've been doing the last bit more than 2 years at the office, right? So I do believe that you can build on a certain type of energy, specifically when you're really small, just getting started, right? But at the same time, I do look at it very differently than, let's say, basically 3-4 weeks ago, right? I definitely have a different perspective on these things right now. And at the same time, I think that, I'm not sure if you had this discussion as well. I've had this discussion a few times. It's so amazing, Doeke, because we're doing all these things remote, but everybody seems to be doing. They really get close together. So this Zoom is amazing. And I was like, but I think now you're sort of changing perspectives. I think everybody's really opened up, right? So everybody's really is able to present themselves really in a vulnerable way, right? Because we have the same sort of enemy, right? We have the same uncertainty, we have the same so everybody's scared to lose their jobs, to lose their business, to lose their family from a health perspective, whatever. And I think one way or another, people then basically let down their guards a little bit, oh my god, Sean, how are you doing? What's happening with your business? Is there any way I could support you guys, right? And it's sort of this, I don't know, age of vulnerability, whatever you want to call it, has really opened up that people really connect, right? And I really hope that the people and the businesses now connect in that sense, right? That they are able to sort of bring this into when things sort of return back to, I don't know, what's normal, right? I don't know, but even back to sort of more or less normal. I'll call normal the day my kids go back to school, Sean.
So I guess that's what I don't have that. I've got my wife at home and my dog running around. But what's life like for you personally?
Well, this is home office, right? So I've been in at the office once in the last 3 weeks with the co-founders, because we want to sit down together, look each other in the eye, and because of course we need to make a few adjustments to the business, and we want to. We thought it was really important to deliver one sort of strong message towards our crew as well, right? So we want to be together. That was really awkward, driving to the office, empty streets. We were in a co-working space, empty co-working space, freezing office because the heaters were down, all the plants were dead. It was just really bit negative in that sense. But then we got together and we delivered the message to the team. We want to be really transparent. We want to make sure that, in hindsight, nobody could look at us and call us hey, but you told me this at that moment in time. and now you're saying this, right? Like, yeah, that's okay in terms of if things even go worse, but we want to deliver a really strong, clear message based on trust and transparency. So I think we've been able to do so. But apart from that, yeah, I'm at home. The kids are in school, homeschooling here with my wife. The good thing is I'm not wasting time in that sense on going back and forth to the office.
Yeah.
I get to do, hide and seek and play a bit of sports 10, 15 minutes in between. Kids are walking into my phone calls, Zoom calls, whatever. So like I do think there's sort of, and we're not going out, right? I'm not going out to a restaurant. I'm not going out. I live close to the beach. I'm not going to the beach almost. So you're really sort of cocooning, right? So it brings something as well. I think in terms of you're closer to each other, that you discuss different things. So I think that's definitely sort of an upside, right? But like if you're in this business, you're probably quite social as well. So of course I'm longing to get back to my friends and the bar and the office and stuff like that as well. I think we're all social animals in that sense, right? So,
It's like, it's like remembering the world where we could go and just give someone just shake someone's hand and when you walk the dog now, people cross the road and I get why, and it's a good thing, but it is a bit weird when you think about it. You're like,
I went to do some shopping the other day, and I was like, I was in the shop, and then it's like, stop, okay, you can pass. No, it's okay, I'll turn, and then it's just completely awkward, right? Completely awkward.
Well, look, Doeke, I wanted to say thank you, mate. Thanks so much. I know this is tough times for everyone. I'm really I'm glad to hear that things are okay right now. I think you're definitely one of the most innovative businesses I've seen in a long time. And I love the way you're doing what you're doing. Man. So I imagine people will want to reach out and say hello and find out a bit more and ask some questions. Are you open to people getting in touch?
By all means. We've just launched sort of a webinar series, sort of keen webinar series. We'll do basically 2 runs parallel, one specifically to support our recruiter community, right? To really see if we can add value to them in these strange times, right? And we'll do one parallel to that as well, where I'll be talking perhaps in a similar setting like this with TA leaders, right? So what have you been facing, right? That tells a little bit about the journey. What happened? Which decision did you need to make? What was the impact on your business, on your team, and on your family? So stuff like that. So if they want to tune into that, they can reach out to me, and I'll send them the links. And what we'll do, that training program that we've designed, so the Keen Academy, we were doing everything offline, and we're going to push all this stuff online. So it will be the Keen Academy online, where we will be delivering mini masterclasses, sort of like snackable, high quality, high energy content within 60, 120 minute time frames. So people can sign up for that as well, with a small fee that we would charge as well. But just to make sure that people can keep busy and keep learning, right? And then hopefully get out stronger at the end, so they can, get back to their jobs and be passionate about recruitment, that we're hopefully all are, basically.
That's it. Well, look, thank you so much. We'll keep an eye on it and potentially have another chat in a few months and see how.
All good, man. Sean, all the best to you. Stay healthy, be safe, and thank you so much for your time, man.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
I hope you enjoyed that episode. That gives us a different viewpoint. We're seeing what's going on in Central Europe as well. I don't ask for a fee to listen to the show, but I do ask for one thing. I ask you to share this episode with someone else. So pick someone you know that is would benefit from listening to these stories, and we're releasing every single day. So pick a friend, a colleague, a boss, even a competitor, someone you think would benefit, and that's all I ask for, because together we're going to get through this a lot stronger. I'll be back again tomorrow with more stories for you to listen to. In the meantime, stay safe, and I'll see you soon.